Hey, sports fans! Coach Nick here, and welcome to the B-Ball Breakdown live show coming at you, as always, on Monday, December 1st. And as always, joined by Andrew Combo Sal to discuss the latest and the greatest in the NBA. Combo, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you, Coach Nick?
I'm doing okay. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Great Thanksgiving. A lot of great food. How was yours?
Yeah, we had a really good turkey. Can't complain. Stuffing might be my favorite part of it all.
Stuff is good.
I actually went to the cafe down the street on the Sunday before Thanksgiving, had a Thanksgiving meal. They made stuffing that was so good, and it was kind of crunchy. It had something that was crunchy in there with some texture that was amazing.
I'm not mad at crunchiness in the stuffing. I'm not mad at that at all.
All right, good. Don't be mad. But we got a lot of things to talk about today. Let's just begin. What do you say? Let's jump into it. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's get into some controversies.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see Anthony Edwards going to the basket, getting fouled and no call, and him throwing his arms up?
Yeah, and I also saw they had to change his free throws because of Mark Cuban.
I did. I was working on a video. Do you think anybody wants to see that video, though?
A whole video on that? That's interesting. Maybe. It's niche. It's very niche.
It is, but rarely do you get like an owner or maybe a former owner like calling out another player, and they actually change, the way they call the game for that. Because if you didn't see that, and this happened in September, by the way. He was on the prod calling him out in September, and only now did it kind of bubble up for whatever reason. But, I know why, because Anthony Edwards talked about it. But he was shooting the ball. Here's interesting. He shoots the ball, and his foot goes across the free throw line before the ball either goes in or hits the rim or hits the backboard, right, which is a big, violation. However, when you're not going after the rebound or going after the ball at all because it's not an end of game situation, it doesn't give you an advantage. It doesn't make much sense for anyone to really call that out, for the referees to call a violation. That happens all the time. The players step in early. They're in early on the first free throw, and they kind of finally walk in there after the guy already has the ball and whatever. They kind of everyone's cool about it. But what was interesting was he didn't do this in college. His college was a very traditional looking free throw. The feet didn't move. He just shot it. And that was it. And then all of a sudden, day one in the NBA, he's stepping over the free throw line. Do you have any insight into why he would have done that?
He must have changed something that summer, obviously, from college to the NBA. Maybe whoever he was working out with during that offseason. Usually change guys when you go from, college to pro. You start working out with some new people. So that could have been it. Yeah.
And the other thing I'm thinking is that you kind of step over the line like that because you can't find enough power, so you're trying to you're going to shoot it and you're moving forward. Something is trying to get you more power. And that's why you end up drifting forward like that. He's got a step to get his balance back, which is weird. It doesn't always happen that way. And he wasn't doing this. And he was a fine free throw shooter in college. And I think the 1 year he played. So in my mind, someone did something to his free throw that limited the ability to generate that power. And then he's, having to add something to that, which is unfortunate. And he stopped doing it this year. So I guess the ref said, hey, you got to stop stepping on the line. And so he did, and did the honorable thing. So it's interesting. He also added the thing where when he used to do his free throw, he would shrug his shoulders with both hands on the ball and then kind of go up in a 2-motion shot in a way. Now he has the ball in his left hand after he gets it, and he wiggles his right arm. And then goes right in the shot, without really waiting. It's much quicker of the whole thing, which, by the way, it's all about, momentum and rhythm. And so he's unlocked that again because he's not doing whatever he was doing to interrupt that rhythm and need more power, which has not affected the free throw percentage pretty much at all. I mean, let me go check real quick. But as far as I remember checking this before, the free throw percentages were very much the same from this year compared to last year. And I'll tell you right now. So his career is 80.5%. Last year was 83.7. This year it's 82.6. So it's pretty much right in line with what he normally shoots. Didn't affect him.
What's interesting about Anthony Edwards is he continues to get better, but now have you noticed, Coach Nick, that nobody talks about him in the face of the league type conversations, even MVP conversations anymore? It's not that he got any worse. He continues to get better. It's just that top 4 or 5 is really ridiculous at this point, the way they're playing this year.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Luka's out of his world. Jokic is out of his mind. Who else?
SGA.
Giannis.
The emergence of Cade and Wemby for sure.
Yeah, Wemby for sure. Yeah. So, and by the way, he's got a lot of charisma. He's hilarious. He's got a great smile. I mean, all the marketing things should be there on the table for him, and yet, I don't know if he's quite been able to take advantage of that. I mean, have we seen a lot of national commercials recently? I'm trying to think now.
There it is. Nah, he got he got like commercials of him singing with his friend in the car. Then he got one where he's Santa Claus. He got he kind of like Christmas type vibes.
Okay, that's new
Yeah.
or that's old?
Not well. It always plays. He got a lot of stuff with Adidas. He got some
Yeah.
stuff for
Okay,
sure.
so it should be there because again, the NBA needs to be concerned with who's going to carry the torch after Michael to Kobe and Shaq to LeBron and Steph, and now LeBron and Steph are moving on sooner than later, and I don't know who's taking that mantle, even though we have plenty of players who are as good enough to be in that pantheon, like we mentioned already. So I'm concerned about that, and I just feel like it's affecting ratings too. It's like how many of those people are like full on, I'm going to watch that game because of that person.
So our ratings down or up? Because it's interesting. When I look at the NBA, I feel like the players are more skillful than ever before, and that's part of the reason for the scoring surge. I mean, you see a lot of players dropping 40. There's more players averaging 50. I'm sorry, there's more players averaging 30. There's obviously more players averaging 20. Do you think that's because the players are more skillful, because of the way the rules are enforced? Do you think the numbers are inflated? What are your thoughts on all of it?
I mean, I think it's all of those things. I think certainly the pace is a big thing. So it's going to be harder to look at, points per game. It's not a great apples to apples anymore.
Gotcha.
B, it's funny because defenses are more sophisticated now, and they kind of have to be because the offense is so much better. And listen, I can't lie and tell you that role players back in the day were going tween, cross, swivel, blow by, right? They weren't even allowed to dribble the ball. And probably for good reason. Now, all those kind of players, all the role players get to handle the ball a lot more than they used to. And I'm not talking about just like handling a catch and getting catches and touches. I'm talking about dribbling the ball. So if you want to look at dribbling skill, I think that's exploded. I think a lot more players are a lot better at dribbling overall, which is good. It should make the game more interesting, but I think there's a lot of blowback. I think people are upset. They don't like the way the game is being reffed, I think they don't like the way the game is being played, SGA, and the stuff he's doing with fouls. Like, for instance, there's this one that's going around now where he clearly gets fouled. And I think what we've gotten to the point now is that people are not going to deny that he got fouled. It's that the contact he receives wasn't commensurate with him falling down. It wasn't enough to make him fall down. Now, the one we just saw, I think the one against Portland you probably saw, and they had Nate replay from behind. You can see obviously A to B into SGA as he's planting the inside foot. That's not easy to maintain balance when you get a nice hip, contact there as you're kind of, by the way, SGA is always in those weird positions where he's kind of half bent over and like at a weird angle to the ground, and he can stay that way. It's amazing. So I don't know, I'm not going to judge and say, geez, I know exactly how he felt in that exact moment, and it should not have fallen down. Or even when Jokic gets a brush by his chin, who else did it had happened to? And they really reacted. Was it Şengün?
I think so.
I can't pretend to know how hard he got hit and where exactly he got hit. If he gets it in the nostril on the way up, whatever, it doesn't have to be that hard or that significant to like be painful, right?
Yeah. I think that there is a lot of flopping going on, but there always was. I mean, Vlade Divac was doing it back in the day, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And there was a lot of pump faking, jumping into guys, making sure the referees saw the fouls. I mean, I know I'd go down if I got fouled and, make sure that they called the foul.
100%.
Right? That's
part
of it.
100%.
And I was tough. I was a tough player. I wasn't, I was physical, but, sometimes you drive and whatever, they knock you down. So, it's, and who knows, maybe it's just NBA Twitter, which could maybe represent a tiny fraction of people who are just loud.
No, I think there's a lot of people who are like, even in my DMs, and that's not even Twitter, on Instagram, like there's a lot of people complaining to me about the game, kind of like the used to be better type crowd. You know what I mean? There's a lot of that.
But they don't want that. They don't want what used to be. Trust me. Like, watch one of those games start to finish from 1987 or 1994. Like, I don't think you'd want that at all.
And then there's a lot of comparisons to like EuroLeague and FIBA, how that's more real basketball. And there is some truth to it that the NBA is more of an entertainment product than EuroLeague and FIBA, and that's more real basketball. But it doesn't mean it's not entertaining just because they're trying to be entertaining. That's how I feel. Like, I think it's good. I think these players are just so skillful. They're hard to defend. But I think players, it's hard to defend in the league. I don't think they're not playing defense.
Right. Oh, I agree. That's the other thing about the defense. It's like whenever I encounter people like on Twitter who are complaining about defense, they're usually so fundamentally wrong. And then they're really belligerent about being wrong, which is really crazy to me. Like, I don't know. It's just it's interesting.
And then
They just understand what's happening.
And then they'll send me like all these lesser name players dropping 40 and 30, and they'll be like, look, like these guys, are dropping this, and it's just so easy to score in the league these days. But I mean, all these guys are really good, and if you have a hot night, I mean, anybody could go off. I don't think that's because the defense isn't good.
Yeah,
I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's tough, and I think the rules have made it really, really, really difficult to defend. I certainly know the coaching staffs in the NBA feel like that way.
Are you hearing all these things that I'm hearing too? Like, are these like things?
No, that all resonates. That all resonates.
Yeah.
And again, like the rules could be adjusted, which is kind of going back to the way the refs are getting criticized. And the only reason why I'll defend plays is because according to the rule book as it stands now, that is a foul. And if the argument is we got to change the rule book, well, okay, then I get it. But the referees can't change the rule book on their own. They have to follow what it says now. But let's get to our first super chat, which is from Scoldylocks. Always great to see you. Thank you, Scoldy. Hey, Coach, is Austin Reeves going to make All-NBA this year? It seems like All-Star is becoming more and more certain. I mean, I think All-Star is a lock for that guy. I mean, he just had 34 points right behind, Luka when LeBron sat out for one game. This guy's a legitimate scorer, and they're not hunting him on defense anymore, and maybe that'll happen again in the playoffs. We'll see, but is there anything this guy can't do on the basketball court with the ball in his hands?
No, and we've talked about this a bunch of times. I think he has top 5 handle in the NBA, and then the way he plays the pick and roll, and he could score at all 3 levels, and now he's shooting it with more range even, I'm seeing. So, he's a complete player, and he's an all-star, and he's going to make a lot of money in the NBA now.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's go over his numbers real quick because he's playing 37 minutes a game, which is too high. So you have to be worried. Although he's never, as far as I know, never had an injury issue. And he's 27. He's not even that young. But and his improvement level year to year also has been pretty impressive. So, at some point he's going to be kind of where he is. But if this is his ceiling, geez, Louise, like All-Star for sure. All NBA, I don't see how many other players are going to go over him. Anthony Edwards, if we're looking at that position, who else gets over him? SGA.
I mean, Maxey might get over him. He's averaging over 30.
Yeah, Maxey's terrific as well.
Yeah, and then you got Cade, and Brunson's a possibility. You got guys. Steph Curry. Steph Curry.
Yeah. So if it's 3 teams and there's two guards on each team, if that's what we're looking at it, right? That's 6.
It depends on where the Lakers end up, I think.
Yeah. It's gonna be tough. Like you could probably find we can find 4 easy that go over him. Is there a 5th one? Maybe, or a 6th? Yeah, maybe. It'll be close for all NBA, but right now he's playing as well as anybody, and his numbers are 28.8 per game. He's shooting 52% from the field overall and 36 from the 3-point line with over almost 8 attempts, and 88% from the free throw line. He's taking 9.6 free throws a game. Did you realize that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, and he's getting almost 7 assists a game too. He's he's doing everything. He really is. He's that guy. I got a video coming up about him pretty soon, but I got to do some other non-Laker stuff, I guess. But I'm going to go through and check out like how did we miss this? I want to know from college, what he was doing there. That made the Lakers believe that he could be good, and then they drafted him. But also, was there any evidence of this, before the NBA?
That's an interesting, especially once he makes it. That'd probably be good around like All-Star break, right? Once he makes the All-Star team.
Oh yeah, I mean, I might end up getting it done this month. We'll see what the other storylines occur, but it'll be interesting. It'll be a good video for sure. So don't forget, if you want your question answered, the best way to do that is the super chat over on the YouTube side or over on the playback if you're there locally. I think there's a way to do that as well. And let's see. Oh, we have Meg Stahl wants to throw in the chat a little bit about the free throw differential in the last 2 seasons for the Lakers. It's a huge gap still. The Lakers have been able to maintain that free throw disparity. I guess so. If this is correct, it looks like it is. Oh no, that was from February 2024. I'm not sure this year it's that the Lakers are getting that many more free throws. But when you have Luka and you have Austin going off and shooting a ton of free throws, I'm sure it's significant.
And Ayton has been a revelation for them. He's been really good. He's not getting his just due because whenever he's not playing well, whether it be with the Suns or he doesn't get to a game because of an ice storm in Portland, there's always a lot of buzz. But when he's playing well, he doesn't get enough credit, and he fits that team perfectly. Like I think we both thought he would. Yeah,
for sure. What he's doing vertically is what we all sort of assume was going to happen. On those rolls, he's going to get a lot of easy buckets, and he's going to shoot a very high percentage. and he's actually good in the mid range. So if they need him to do a little bit of that, they can. But he just needs to wander around out there. Literally, he's going to wander here and whatever, and then boom, they're going to hit him. They're going to make easy shots. And shot finish.
He's obviously not as good as AD, but sometimes it feels like he fits in more seamlessly than AD. You know.
Interesting. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't get any post ups. And so when AD is out there and he's not getting post ups, it is a little frustrating to me. I can only imagine how AD feels, if he's not getting close now because he's not going to be as impactful. Whereas you're right, Aiden is a better complement to that. They don't need him to look for his bucket, his scores.
He'll never be in the way of Luka and Austin. Yeah. They never have to feel like they're stepping on toes with Aiden.
Well, yeah, and they just need to be somewhat effective on defense. Block a shot and a half a game, get some rebounds. Help out a little bit here and there. Now, I'm just kind of curious. I meant to check this earlier. What is the and by the way, if you didn't watch the LeBron video, I just broke it down on Friday, how he's playing like a role player. And, credit to LeBron, right?
Yes.
He's going to corners, just standing there in the corners watching. Every once in a while, he gets it thrown to him and he can attack, get a couple post-ups. And then watch, the beginning of the the beginning of the fourth quarter of every game, they're going to have – we'll have Luka on the bench, and they'll let him do a little bit. They'll give him a couple pick and rolls, and maybe a post up there, and let him eat a little bit, and then bring Luka back in. I don't know how you're going to beat that. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, he's screening and rolling, and he's waiting for his corner three, and he's just being like the greatest role player you could have.
He's the greatest player to ever play that position. To be a role player, right? To play in that role, like as good as LeBron is even now.
100%. Yeah. But yeah, I would say that's true. But then again, people usually fall off more than he does when they're ready to play that role. Like he's ready now, but he didn't really fall off athletically. You see him catch that backwards, like his head was.
Oh yeah. Well, in my video, he missed one because Reeves threw it too low. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, but man, he's still athletic, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, exactly. So I'm saying to put him in that role, this is the best version of a player we've ever seen in that role as a third wheel, basically, on offense. So as we saw, the offensive rating just skyrocketed in the 3 or 4 games when he came back. Granted, it's against Utah a couple times, and maybe Portland, somewhere else in there. It's not good teams.
That's an interesting conversation. We always talk about like who's the best Robin ever, who's the third best player ever.
Oh wow.
We always talk about Scottie Pippen, you know, as the Robin. Who's the third guy?
Bosh.
I mean, Bosh. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Kevin Love was really good, but Bosh was better.
Yeah. Well, now who was the third on the Celtics? It wasn't KG, was it?
I mean, to me, KG was the best player on that team. Paul Pierce was just their closer and best scorer, and he was a great player too. But KG was like the glue on both sides of the floor.
Okay.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I really like KG. I can't even call him a third option. I don't know. Right. I can't.
We give him number one or whatever, then it's not easy to figure out on that team who was the third then. But I would think Bosh, pound for pound, was probably the best on defense too. Or Scott. Well, Scotty was number 2.
Was Rondo 4th? No, right?
Yeah.
That's a crazy 4th. That's a crazy 4th.
And then Perk, a distant 5th.
Okay.
You had to put him in that order. That's a tough one for that order, but Bosh, the guy, especially defensively, did not get enough recognition for what he did on those Heat teams defensively. I know LeBron was still in his prime there and playing great defense, but I think Bosh overall, what they asked him to do was more. And then defensively or offensively, unfortunately, he just had to completely play a role and never get a chance to, not even a chance really to get a post up here and there.
Harden could have been that if they kept that team together. Best third option ever.
Yeah. I mean, we can give it to him for that 1 year when they made the finals. So he did have it there. But you're right. He doesn't quite get to that level yet. And I'd like to see Harden in that role now. Even if they could figure out a better way where he's third instead of like really the main attacker now.
Wait, didn't Jerry West, Oscar Robertson, and Wilt play together?
Yeah, but Oscar played with Kareem in Milwaukee, but it was Elgin Baylor. But Baylor was broken down pretty much. So even though they were on the same team, I think a little bit like Baylor, I think retired earlier on, and then Jerry by that point was also toward the end of his career.
Okay.
So that's a tough one. So anyway, but that's a good question and maybe a good video one day. So anyhow, What else were we talking about here?
We talked rookie of the year race, right?
We can.
I mean, you wanted to talk about VJ Edgecombe. I think we talked about before this recording. We think VJ has the higher ceiling, but Khan's been the most consistent, and we both think Cooper is going to be great. I predicted, as you know, Khan Knuppel rookie of the year, and it looks like it's going to happen, right, Coach Nick?
There's still a lot of time, and Edgecombe is starting now. And by the way, with the Philly team, we have to kind of really take a look at the next couple of weeks because Paul George is now back, Jared McCain is back. Embiid is back, and so this is their chance. They couldn't pull it out in, I think, double overtime. And by the way, there's a big controversy about the last in regulation where Nick Nurse wanted to call a timeout when the game was tied, and Atlanta comes down and misses a layup. I mean, they blew it in a tie game for the layup for the win, and with about 2.5 seconds to go or so, Paul George grabs the rebound and then takes off down the court when they had a timeout left. That was the mistake. Not that the refs couldn't hear Nick Nurse call a timeout or they didn't see him. It was their job. No, it's not their job to be looking and checking the bench, even if it's a situation where maybe there's going to be a timeout or not. A lot of times there isn't a timeout, right? The coach just lets them go. But in that situation, when you grab a rebound and there's literally like less than 3 seconds to go, you always call timeout because you want to advance the ball to half court and run a sideline out of bounds play. Whatever the shot they end up getting, which is what we saw, Paul George shooting a 65-foot runner under contested. That's not worth a shot. Set it up and run a play. So he should have known that. Anybody on the court should have instantly called timeout because remember, the second you begin to advance the ball, even if that moment you're like, oh, I want to call a timeout, well, then they're going to inbound the ball where you call the timeout, which is 75 feet away. Again, you lose the advantage. So Combo, right? As you're grabbing the ball and before you even land, you're like calling timeout right away.
Right.
So that's a mistake by Paul George and not anybody else. Sorry, I love you, Paul, but that was a mistake. And people are they're looking for any reason to blame the refs. Is that what you noticed too when you're out there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. I think because of all the scandals going on in the NBA, they think everything is like, they're a little skeptical of everything. That's part of it too. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't blame them for that to some degree because every little thing starts to really erode the trust you might have. And it's hard to imagine that you can get a league-wide thing like the Thunder stuff is interesting because if you want to complain about how they get a whistle and nobody else does, right? Aren't you kind of also arguing that the referees all got together and all of a sudden, hey, we're going to call the game differently. We're going to let Oklahoma City get away with all physicality.
Right.
Don't let it for anybody else.
I mean, you talked about the AJ Mitchell thing, and I've talked about it too, them being unfair with him. But how about them having a chance to get the #1 pick next year? That's ridiculous.
Right. Remind me how who's picked
Clippers.
Oh, right. And that's part of the SGA Paul George trade, right?
Yeah, man, that's crazy.
Well, imagine that they traded Paul George to get SGA, and we all knew SGA was going to be great. I think we did at that point.
Well, a lot of people didn't know he'd be like this.
I mean, okay, but he was still really impressive, and so early you're like, whoa. So, but so they get the MVP of the league, the face of the NBA for years to come, and they're going to get #1 pick, and they got Jalen Williams out of it too as one of those picks.
Yeah, and then
that might go down as the worst trade or the best trade for a team ever.
No, the best trade was the Lakers for Luka.
Oh, yeah, okay, fine. We shall see. Now, although don't you have to argue the Lakers need to get a title? OKC got a title.
Here's the thing. Here, I think this is the thing that is kind of not taken into consideration. If you have like a generational talent for the next 15 years and still don't win a title, there's still a lot of value in that, right?
Yeah. Listen, using a title as the end all is a tough one.
Yeah. I think, as competitors, obviously, it is the end all be all, right? But in terms of a business, it's not the end all be all.
Yeah, and if we're talking about the player himself and like how good is the player, and there is a lot the player can do to elevate his teammates, but at some point, like there's key injuries or whatever happens, coaching decision going wrong, like all those things, it's tough, that's out of their control. So obviously you feel bad for Chuck and for Barkley. I'm sorry, Barkley and Malone and Stockton and basically anybody who had to go against Michael.
Yeah, there's a lot of that.
So who are we talking about? So let's get back to Khan Knuppel looks like the guy, and he's the most like consistent, right? But he probably has the lowest ceiling of all of them in terms of Cooper
and then he might surprise us. He might surprise us and have a higher ceiling. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the way he comes in, having been, hardly played at all in college, and he's just really refined and under control. That's another example. A guy like Con Knippel would have come in the league in the 80s or 90s and would have been forbidden from dribbling the ball. He would have been just a catch and shoot 3-point shooter, right? Maybe a little size, could play some defense, whatever. But like that would be it. Now the guy's running pick and rolls. He's handling the ball. He's dishing a little bit. He's coming off of the mid range. The mid range could be another storyline at some point we got to talk about.
What years do you think they would have just not let him dribble the ball? Like what the 90s?
90s, probably in the 2000s. I know those guys who came in as shooters. Through up till 2010, probably.
Sarunas Marciulionis, he got the ball. They let him dribble up the court, right? Like, I mean, there was some big guards out there. And then if you're thinking of like early 2000s, like Turkoglu and even, you know what I mean?
No. I'm just saying like sort of rookies coming in and at certain positions and certain roles, like now Marciulionis comes in as a grizzled veteran, having played in Europe before that and kind of known quantity, but he also had to change a lot of perceptions too, and sort of force the issue to make people understand how good he was. So but I'm just thinking like rookie coming in like that, it was a shooter, like that was the role that they wouldn't let anybody shoot or dribble that much from. Even in the
90s, you don't think he would have had some like dribble opportunity?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Like, don't you think they would have saw some of it in practice or something? Like, it just like, okay. Because, like, I'm not saying he's Grant Hill, but like they just let Grant Hill do what he wanted to do.
And spacing is a lot different now and pace is different. So it could be easy to, to get that, to get openings now. Like that might be part of the argument in terms of, people thinking defense is not as good as it used to be or that stuff. And you can't be as physical, but the offense has gotten a lot better at creating the space, and not clogging everything up so that now guys like Knippel can find little seams to get in there and do some damage where there just simply wasn't anywhere to go a lot. You get the ball on the wing, there'd be a guy posting up in front of you every time. Like, where there's
how about that thing
if you wanted to.
How about that thing where they would just go one-on-one and there'd be like four guys on the opposite wing, like crunched up together?
Yeah, I guess I can kind of picture that a little bit.
And then like one guy would cut through maybe,
Yeah. Like you wouldn't see handoffs. You'd see like pin downs and floppies.
Remember Barkley? Remember how Barkley used to play? He used to back down from the 3-point line and the other guys would just wait.
Yeah. Well, they had to change the rules for him, right? Because his post-ups took so freaking long that they made a 5-second rule basically where you couldn't, dribble the ball to the basket, back to the basket that long for good measure. Like all those things are good. Like, I like the way the game's played now. Right. But I do feel like we're at a crossroads where the referees are kind of struggling and the rules are struggling and the style is struggling. All these things are kind of coming to a head and they got to figure out how to sort of get, the one tweak here and there. And I think people will kind of get back on board. But, we can't forget that like a play like James Harden's step back when it first happened, people were outraged, right? This is the travel. You can't do that, yada, yada, yada. And now everybody in high school has this in their bag and it's just part of the game.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before. His influence on skill development and the way players play now is very underrated. I mean, we talk about Steph, everybody shooting a three, but everybody got a step back now. Like Wemby came into the league with a step back. So.
Yeah. And I remember like teaching step backs to some degree.
And the Euro. He brought the Euro in too,
Who did?
Harden popularized it. Ginobili had it, but Harden popularized it within skill development.
Right. I mean, well, okay, maybe, yeah. I mean, Marciulionis is the guy who really brought it.
That's true too. Two Marciulionis references in one show. Wow.
Let's get him on the show. All right, we got Cliffside. What's up, Cliff? Great to see you as always, friend of the breakdown. Best friend of the breakdown. Cliff says, what's the thinking behind how a coach substitutes players? Do the assistants track minutes? Is it a preset rotation? Is it strictly matchup based? So I have this fantasy where like it's going to be AI eventually, where they have sensors, they know exactly whatever, and they know the other team and whatever, and you can start to sub that way. But I think a lot of it's still gut. I think some of it is like, okay, Steph Curry, you're coming out at 6 minutes, you're going back in at 12, you're going out at, and I think the stars know exactly when they're coming in and coming out at this point. And unless you're Ja, you have no problem with that, I guess. Now, so that's how that works. As far as the other stuff goes, you got to deal with, because I remember even with the high school level, trying to I want to lock it in. I mean, everyone has a position. They know exactly before the game when they go in, when out. I don't do any subs. And then a guy gets hurt or he gets in foul trouble. We're not expecting it. And then everything just goes completely kaput. You got to just do it on the fly. So it's not easy, right? But I do imagine at some point there will be enough data in real time for NBA teams to be substituting based on the other teams who they have out there at the moment, and then it'll also inform you what plays you should run. And so I think all those things are on the table. But as it is now, yes, everyone's tracking minutes. We just saw this with both Embiid and I think Edgecombe and Paul George. They're all on some sort of minute restriction they had to deal with, and then double overtime really hurt, which is probably why they lost that game.
There's probably assistants just there for that, right? To make sure who's playing what minutes.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, look, I think a lot of it is style of play, right? Like the Heat, they got to play 11 guys the way they play.
How do they play?
Oh, they have the fastest pace in the league, correct?
Is that right? I feel like they might have like the fastest speed in the half court on offense, and they're moving around a lot. But if only there was a place to check this.
Well, only if Coach Nick is here to debunk what I say. So he's gonna find out. But I believe they're playing
Combo, the big brain on Combo. They lead the league by a wide margin.
Combo.
Pace.
Yeah,
was 104.3. Which is a big, and then after that, everyone's kind of bunched up, so that they are way ahead there.
Yeah, come on, Coach.
Time of possession. You ever look at that?
But also, so what I'm saying is, when you're playing like that, you got to play more players. You have to.
Yeah.
And they do. They play a lot of guys.
Let's see touches. Okay, where's the time of possession? Where is touches? Where did they put it? Yes. So the shortest time of possession of any team is also the Heat at 18.7 seconds or 18.7 minutes per game. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are next at about 20.
What's that stat?
Time of possession is 18.7 minutes per game. Yeah, because 24 would be exactly in the half. So they just fall for 18.7 minutes a game, which means that they're getting shots up quick. That's all part of their pace.
They're playing downhill. Obviously everybody knows they're not playing a lot of pick and roll.
Yeah. And they're also 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth in touches. So the ball, people are getting a lot of touches, even though that ball is getting back to the other team pretty quick. So it's interesting. And then you can also do average speed. Let me do that real quick. Speed and distance. So average speed on distance for offense is the Heat are also way ahead again at 5.24 miles per hour. So yeah. They're just hyper speed. And I did the breakdown of that video. Not many people seem that interested in it, unfortunately, because it was a really unique offense. But they don't set a lot of weak side screens. They don't hit the high post. They don't do any dribble handoffs. They don't do very many ball screens either. So it's interesting.
Very interesting. And Spo found a way to maximize a team without having elite pick and roll players, even though Tyler Hero is really good, but he's no SGA. He's no Luka. He's no Harden. So they just double down on what they're good at. And, it's a copycat league, but, Spo looks at the roster and he's like, how can we maximize this? And they've definitely done that this year.
Yeah. I just worry that the way they are trying to get advantages are one-on-one. And so they're putting a lot of pressure on, individual players to get the offense going. And against the good teams in the playoffs that have a day or two to prepare for that, that could be a problem. And that's my prediction. And I'm seeing this already happen a little bit against some of these better teams down the stretch.
Well, I mean, I think this style does maximize what they do. I don't think talent-wise they have a team to go like super deep, right?
Right. And remember, what I did the video was before Hero came back. And so Hero's a guy who's going to fit that style pretty well and make him better.
I
like teams that run handoffs. I like teams that do after post.
From what
it's an offense to get you advantages, and they don't do it.
From what I'm seeing and hearing, he slowed things down slightly. Like he's thinking a little bit when he's catching it. But yeah, I think he could play in any offense. He's talented.
You're talking about Hero?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it might be worth revisiting that and seeing how he's helped them out. But let's get to another super chat from Cliff again. Thank you so much, Cliff. Combo, has there ever been a defender that clamped you in a real organized game? What did the best defenders have in common from your experience?
They're kind of built like Lou Dort. Like they're strong, they're stout. Like even when you play, because with me, if you're playing like great defense, I'm probably just going to try and body you eventually, right? But then you can't do that with somebody stout. I think when there is somebody like that, you have to really learn how to play off the ball. Yeah, I think everybody's been clamped, but I always think it's more my fault that I got clamped than the defender in my own brain. Like I just wasn't figuring out the puzzle
Yeah.
in the best way that I could.
Well, in organized games, a lot of times you get the situation where you need your help with your teammates. They got to set a screen for you.
Yes.
And if they're not doing that, in the context of your offense, it could get really frustrating because it's like, well, I'm not necessarily getting clamped as much as the guy he's denying me or whatever he's doing. And
I mean, if
in spots.
Yeah, and if guys aren't making shots, I mean, they start to play off that player even more and more and more, and and then that guy gets nervous because he's wide open and he can't make a shot, and it's just like it's a spiral. It's a vicious cycle, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, and that's why those kind of players are always really, really important. And OKC's got a bunch of them. Rarely do you have more than one on your team, and they've got between Caruso and Dort. I even think that Wallace is a guy who's in that realm.
Yeah, I think also another thing is when you shouldn't take it personal because somebody had like one-on-one defensive play on a great defensive play on you, right? You don't just try and keep going one-on-one just because you want to prove to yourself that you could score one-on-one in this guy. You try and move off the ball. Maybe you set a screen. Maybe you run really fast in transition. So, yeah, I think whenever I did get clamped, it was my fault. As I said before, just not figuring things out, But that's a great question, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Cliffside. Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, Cliff, for that. And what else do we have to talk about? Anything?
I don't know. Yeah, no.
We can quickly grab it. Let's see. That was good. Anything else? Let's see here. We talked about the rookies. So yeah, so we're going to end up going with, and we talked about Austin. Good. I think we kind of covered all of our stuff. So you're going to go with Con?
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, how could I not after predicting it when nobody was with me?
I'm just thinking. We just saw Cooper Flag go off, and he's going to be great. He is really good now. If he kind of figures it out and kind of really goes off, he'll have even more opportunities than.
I'm with you. I'm getting like all these Cooper haters in my DMs. So
I don't know. He just went off for 30 plus the other day, and then you look, he's got it. He's just got to be able to.
Somebody even had the audacity to tell me and my friend's a good player. Like he played high level in Europe. He had the audacity to tell me that Nico Harrison got fired because they drafted Cooper Flag and he's not generational.
Oh, well,
that's
not right. By the way, there's the rumor going around, right? I believe that the way Kidd was coaching got Nico fired.
What? The whole Lakers thing the whole Luka thing got Nico fired, basically, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, I obviously, yeah. And then, but people are trying to say that, like, maybe McMahon was trying to say some version of that, like he wanted to make sure because maybe he wants more control of the team. But I don't know. Either
McMahon likes to start things up.
Oh yeah, I guess he does. But he also is, I think he's in the know. He's got his, he's in that, in the.
He wrote a book on Luka. I mean,
yeah. So anyhow, interesting stuff as always. But I think we kind of covered everything. And I guess we'll have to let's make sure we figure out some other teams. I feel like there's some teams we haven't talked about hardly at all this year so far. Suns.
We talked about this. We actually did talk about the Suns. We talked about Dillon Brooks and his impact.
Yeah. Well, I want to explore that further into maybe the video as well of why they're playing slightly better with Brooks.
Toronto, even though they lost last night. I mean, they were second in the East. I don't know if they still are, but before yesterday's game versus the Knicks, they were. But they lost yesterday.
I got to tell you, I haven't had a chance to see much of them, so I would like to watch them. Detroit, we talked about a little bit. I've done a video on them. Any other surprises? Cleveland's not doing as well as they did last year, and that's an interesting thing to explore at some point. The Bulls' hot start was so exciting is now not hot start anymore, and they're back to where they were.
I know, and I saw one of the YouTube shorts where we were talking about. Actually, my part got cut off when I said like I think they're going to just like level out about at 500. But anyway, there was people in the comments saying, "See, you guys are wrong. They were still playing good." But I guess like almost like a few days or weeks later, it was like we started to see what we said.
Yeah, I think that was spot on. I think they're like mediocre 500, whatever.
Yeah,
with the roster they have, it's just not built really that way. Even though the East is a little bit weak, keep your eye on Philly though because they kind of were treading water, around 500 now, and now that everyone's getting back and the minutes restriction will go away. This is their one chance before they maybe think about trading Paul George. They should give him a chance through December at least and see if they can't find something there. I want to know. I'm really curious. On paper, this is a really good team.
So who are like some of the veterans around the league that you think could get traded if a team's about to tank?
Oh, well, I mean, Clay, but Clay, I don't think he's any value.
Clay
But
had a good game last night.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, maybe him, like, Paul George is definitely one of those guys. Lowry is the guy, though, right? Lowry's number one.
Yeah, he's not even that much of a veteran. He's like a prime guy. He's like in his prime.
Yeah. Okay. So
Yeah.
you want people who are a little older?
Yeah, I was thinking like, the DeMar DeRozan, the James Harden, those type of guys. The
Yeah.
Paul George,
Wow.
yeah.
Doesn't have value. Interesting.
Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
Did Zach LaVine have an argument with a super fan?
He did. He with a season ticket holder who was welcomed back.
Nice jacket. That guy had a nice Kings jacket.
You like that? That's your style? All right.
No, I wouldn't wear it for me, but for him, for like a super fan, it was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he came back and everyone was happy to see him. It's an interesting dynamic as well, because in theory, if you're a season ticket holder, you should be able to say, "Hey, play some defense, man." Like, I don't know, maybe it was worse than that, but if that was a general gist, I don't see why you get kicked out and why Zach had to make him get kicked out. It sounded like he told him to.
Did LeBron get somebody kicked out recently?
He's done it in the past, but I can't remember if it was. I don't know if I've seen anything recently, but yeah. I mean, listen, there are things you can't violate. You can't go past certain lines, but for back in the day, you could. There was
LeBron, good guy. What do you think? Good guy?
On the court?
No.
Just overall? Oh, he's a good guy overall. I mean, he's founded a school. He's got a father, right? All that stuff. So yeah.
Oh yeah,
he's a good guy.
Okay.
I wonder if he's a good guy in the court.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I think I would like to play with him. I think he's a good player.
Yeah, you'd want to be on his team because you probably would win.
Yeah, I'm going to be the star, and LeBron's a role player now. So yeah,
any argument, like in a pickup game, he's not losing that argument, right? By default.
Well, I'm from New York, so there's a chance anybody could lose argument here.
All right, okay, that's good to know. I mean, you know what I'm talking about. There are those arguments, right, that could go on for a while, and you got
to
through that noise and win.
I mean, it ends the run sometimes.
Yeah. If I remember why I don't want to play anymore. You know why I wouldn't want to play pickup anymore? Because I'd just be spotting up and no one would kick it out, and I'd sit there and never get a shot.
I'm really good at finding shooters, so play with me.
Okay. All right. Well, then we can do it. All right. Well, Combo, great show today as always. Always good to see everybody out there too, from the super chats on down. And we'll be back again next week at least. Maybe we'll be back earlier. You never know, depending on what stuff happens this week. But thanks for being out there. Thanks for watching the LeBron video. That did really well. And stay tuned. And by the way, let me know what you guys think. Do you want to see a video about Anthony Edwards stepping over that free throw line? Because I started to prep it and I got the heebie-jeebies. I'm like, I don't know if people want to see this one. But how about this? You probably want to see a video, which I forgot to talk about, God darn it, about is Anthony Edwards not getting fouls, which is the whole thumbnail. We didn't talk about that, Combo.
Oh, yeah. You teased us. We were about to talk about it now.
I'm going to quickly drop the stat that I came up with that was down and dirty, back of the napkin, back of the envelope math. So on Synergy, you can isolate certain things about fouls and about drives, right? So what you can do is SGA has 92 total drives to the rim this year, and Anthony Edwards has 69. So everyone's saying, well, listen, SGA gets so many more fouls because he throws his head back and he flails and he flops and he's diluting the refs and he's confusing the refs. In all honesty, every time I'm seeing those people yell at him and you look at the play, it's a foul. Now, does he flail? Does he flop at the end? Like, okay, fine, but he is getting fouled by the letter of the law, by the rule book. So when I started to pull this together, I want to see, well, how much more is he getting fouled than Anthony Edwards, right? How many more, whatever. So you can then call up drives. Then you can call up fouls. Okay, the total number of fouls drawn by a player on Synergy, right? So I did that, and then I could search for drives. So of all the plays where he was driving and picked up a foul on those drives, most of those are like to the rim. If you divide that into the total number of drives, now you get the sense of the percentage of fouls per drive, right? Which is a really good indication of, is a guy drawing a lot of fouls or not? Well, SGA is currently drawing fouls on 25% of his drives. Okay. So every a quarter of his drives, he gets a foul call on it for free throws. Now, you want to guess what percentage Ant has when he drives?
34, because I know it's going to be higher.
You think he gets a higher percentage of calls on his drives?
Well, I know because we talked about it that you had a stat for me that it was going to surprise me.
Okay. Oh, and Braun. I missed a super chat by Braun. Shoot, let me find it. Sorry. Wait, where did it go?
Oh, because Braun changed his name.
But I don't. Oh my God, there it is. My fault. I'll do it right now. Anyway, so if SGA gets 25% of his drives where he gets foul calls, Anthony Edwards is 27.5. He's getting more foul calls per drive than SGA is.
Is that a noisy stat or no?
It's a little noisy because I got to watch just to make sure he didn't get fouled on a drive, but like way out by the 3-point line, and it's kind of getting trapped in there. I could do I'll count it by my eye next. It's not that many right now, but I bet you it's not that far off. I bet you those calls are coming much closer to the basket. So in that context, yes, he's getting if not more, at least the same amount. And so what are we doing here? Everything's all about feels, right? And it's really frustrating. Let me get to Braun's question. Sorry, Braun. I'm glad I caught you before we left. Thank you so much. Always great to see you, Braun. Luka is on pace for the most free throw attempts ever by a guard, but he doesn't get the narrative bump SGA does. Could be a fun video idea. Okay, maybe I got to fold Luka into this as well. Now, the amount of calls I stumbled across a Reddit feed or thread talking about how the number of fouls is way up as well. And their connection they've made is steals and turnovers are up because teams are now reaching in and really being a lot more risky with their defense to get turnovers. And they don't care if they foul more. And they are. So wrap your head around all of that and stick it in your pipe.
Interesting. What was I was gonna say something. Oh yeah. So how about the follow through where they hit your head now? Isn't that a point of emphasis? Is that why there's more fouls?
Kind of, but don't forget, there might be a little bit of that, but there's also you can still touch the guy's hand. There's still a high five, play where you don't get called for a foul.
So what was the change? What was the change?
That you can't like overtly swipe so hard as a secondary motion.
Oh yeah.
And hard and like hurt.
Well, that might be a part of the increase in scoring, right?
A little bit, but it doesn't happen that much. But I know Steph was getting it in the beginning of the year. So
yeah, it doesn't happen that much, but the threat of that being there, a player knowing that that's not there anymore could change things.
But and then the video also, but I think everyone's tired of seeing OKC videos in defense, but Devin Booker comes out and says that part of what they do, which I think is genius, is like they know when to foul and when the referees are less apt to call it. So they're reaching in on all the dribbles. But when you start to shoot, they're not doing that. They're like showing their chest and playing the vertical and all that different stuff. But they could be way more aggressive out in the perimeter, reaching because they know that you don't always get called for that. And I know that's true at the high school level. I used to play that way. I can remember being, oh, wow, like this is kind of cool. Like I could really be aggressive out here and no one's going to call this stuff. So I knew that from the 80s in high school that you can get away with that. So I think that they're now maximizing that and figured out a loop. Now, it's not a loophole. There's just areas in the floor where you can be a lot more aggressive, and they've mapped them out. No doubt they've done this, overtly and taught this. And the rest of the league is going to catch on. And so maybe that's going to be a solution. People will finally stop complaining because every team is going to, start doing it. And then they're all going to be able to do this play that way and not be penalized.
Yeah, all interesting. Who do you think is gonna be most improved player? Last thing before we get out of here.
It's got to be your guy,
AJ Mitchell. That's your guy.
No, although maybe him too, but Reed
Shepherd didn't even get opportunity last year. Really? Okay.
But he's probably the best, in terms of like no opportunity all of a sudden,
Yeah, I told you to be good, Coach Nick. I told you.
Yeah, he's still got to prove it to me a little bit more, but like I'm pretty much all in. And then it's the mid-range stuff. By the way, he's shooting a lot of threes too.
You don't even have to listen, Coach Dick. You don't even have to do anything in terms of looking at stats, looking at film. All you got to do is call me, Coach Dick. Is this guy going to be good?
All right.
Yes, Coach Dick. I saved you all that time.
He's looking really, really good, and he's doing multi-dribble pull-ups in the mid-range, which is not supposed to be the domain of a guy like that. He's not supposed to be able to get those shots or take those shots.
He's like a better athlete. I always compare him to Nash. He's like a better athlete than Nash, right?
Maybe. Yeah, probably. Yeah. And as a result, he was the guy who needed some time just to get used to the game and used to get that speed, the size, all that stuff. And, so it's not that necessarily that surprising because that happens. Guys get in the league, they get adjusted. It takes them a year or so, whatever. And then they can find all their talent again.
Why not a Jokic video? He's ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe a Jokic video. Maybe the last one didn't do well, but
I mean, he's shooting ridiculous.
And Dylan Brooks has been insane too. He's been doing the KD impersonation, unlike I thought he'd ever be able to do. I mean, it's crazy. So, and you're getting the defense on that side too. KD is okay defensively now, but like Brooks is the guy who's
Well,
instant.
the Rockets are good defensively, so that means him and Alpern are good enough, right?
Well, yeah, but Brooks is a really good defender. He's better than KD, right?
Yeah. Not at protecting the rim, but definitely at guarding guards.
Yeah. And but then the tenacity feeds off of itself and gets people angry, on the other team, and that's another big, advantage as well. And they get off.
I feel like when you're as great as KD, offense is defense, right? In some ways.
Yeah. Can Jalen Johnson win rookie or most improved?
I always like Jalen Johnson too. I always liked his game. Yeah, why not? He was always good. He was he was getting G League reps at one point. Crazy.
When last year?
No, about like 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, I'm just kind of checking. I forgot he didn't play a ton of games last year, which is sort of why he was off my radar. And he scored pretty well though.
So he was interesting at Duke. He just quit the team basically. But I always really liked his game at Duke. But that was kind of the reason why people were sleeping on him.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got to go. But great stuff. I'll see you on the next one, and we'll go from there.
And we won't be talking because we know how it goes. We won't be talking after this video because we know this is not StreamYard. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know what I mean?
So I'll now say goodbye to you here at Combo. You can say bye to everybody else. And don't forget, sports fans, at BBALLBREAKDOWN, we're not a channel.